What's going on, guys? I'm Tyler, and in continuing my series of Disney movie reviews, I'm here to let you know that The Sword in the Stone is no perfect movie. And it follows 12-year-old Arthur during the Dark Ages, where he comes across the wizard Merlin, who has seen the future and has seen Arthur's future as King of England. So he prepares to give him a full, proper education in order to prepare him for his responsibilities as the king. When I was in elementary school, this was a movie that teachers really liked to put on whenever there was free time, and it's really easy to see why, because the moral of the movie centers on how having physical strength really doesn't mean anything if you don't have the wits to use it. And the interesting thing is, Merlin's not the only character who knows this wisdom, because even though Merlin hates the idea of jousting and thinks it's just juvenile at best, Arthur's foster father, as dumb and unlikable as he is, doesn't believe that jousting and combat is based on pure strength. There's a lot of precision, there's a lot of strategics. The way you fight with someone, there's a lot of technique to it. He knows all those things, and even though he's not really that well written of a character, it was nice to see that even he had that wisdom to him. And what surprised me the most is that magic is actually presented as the equivalent of technology in this movie, which is interesting because when you really think about it, the use of magic and technology in movies and TV, anyways, is almost as comparable as it is in real life. It comes down to whether or not you have the knowledge and the understanding to use them properly and not to just let it be the only way to do actual work. Because the movie, as much as it focuses on the work in here, it does emphasize that there does need to be some physical work as well. And that philosophy is not only really clever, but it does lead to a lot of good moments. The best moment, as many people have pointed out, is the wizard duel between Merlin and Madame Mim, where he uses his wits to outwit someone just based on the fact that he knows that she's going to cheat. And Merlin is a pretty likable character for having that wisdom, and the comedic banter that he has between his owl Archimedes, who is a really good sarcastic grump, is not only funny, but it is a little bit insightful because the two of them bicker over what's the best way to educate Arthur, and neither one of them will back down because, like many teachers, they believe that their way is the only way, which, trust me, I've seen that happen over and over again. There's a ton of truth to that. But it was funny to watch. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but my favorite character was probably Arthur, because like the audience, we don't really know what magic Merlin is capable of and what he really wants to teach him at the moment. So whenever something surprising happens, we feel the level of amazement that Arthur is feeling, and the animators really sell his expressions when we are supposed to feel amazed. The only real problem with Arthur is that dude has like 3 different voices throughout this entire movie, because the original kid that they got to play him hit puberty halfway through. So the director had his 2 sons come in and fill in the rest of the gap, which, that's not really a problem. I mean, this movie is about Arthur growing up to be his own man, so you would think that that would be okay. But here's the weird thing. They switch his voice so many times and so inconsistently. There are scenes where he switches 2 different voices as the movie goes on, and oddly enough, I like the original kid. He had much more of a naive, innocent charm to the way he spoke. The older kids just sound really stupid and like they're not really learning anything, and it does kind of affect the character at really key moments. Even weirder, this isn't a problem I should have with Disney movies because they cheat on accents whenever characters are supposed to be not American, but this is one of the more consistently British Disney movies, so it's weird to hear King Arthur, of all people, have the one American accent that sticks out the most. And his foster family don't really feel like fleshed out characters. They don't even really get that many funny moments. They're just there. And it makes their moments feel really slow. And the pacing of the movie itself doesn't really help with that either, because even though it makes sense for the scenes featuring Merlin educating Arthur to take their time to make sure that he's really learning the lesson, there are other scenes as time goes on where you wonder, wouldn't it be more interesting if Arthur had to learn certain things in a certain amount of time to accomplish something? Because that would not only add a lot of pacing, a lot of good pacing to it, but it would have made for a better movie. I know that education is the central theme of the movie, and that's not really a fast-paced thing to do, but keep in mind, this is a movie about a kid who becomes the king just like that. So if they went that route, that would have been a lot more earned, and it would have felt like he actually learned something. Because, as I said before, the older voice that Arthur has doesn't make him sound like he's learning anything. And when it comes to him being king, and Merlin's like, you will be the most famous king of all time. They will write books about you for hundreds of years. And then the movie ends. It's just like I'll always be there for you. Okay. But not only does it not play out that way, it doesn't really feel earned. It feels like I'm missing 20 to 30 minutes where he is learning the essentials and is proving himself to be a good king, because we don't get scenes like that. So The Sword in the Stone overall does accomplish what it sets out to do, which is make education seem fun, but also make you realize just how important it is. And the central characters do just that. There just isn't a ton of urgency to the plot for a movie about King Arthur, which that was the only real disappointing thing. But nonetheless, Sword in the Stone was a pretty good movie, and I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. Guys, thanks as always for watching. If you have seen The Sword in the Stone, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. Be sure to stay tuned for more Disney reviews, and be sure to like and subscribe. Take care.